and he said, we agree with the estimate that the contractor gave you. Which brings up this. The company claims adjuster is familiar with all the contractors in the area. We just had to have our roof replaced. When we did our house, when we renovated our house 15 years ago, we had a new roof put on part of it, and on the new part, and then we had our house re-roofed. Well, since that time, every house on Harding Drive has had their roof replaced. Okay, so what does that mean? For those of you who aren't familiar with it, roofs are damaged typically by one of two things: falling branches or hail. And it was hail. So I had been thinking for a while I need to get a roofer out to look at our house, but I hadn't acted on it. One day I'm sitting in the house watching TV on Saturday, and this guy knocks on the door and he says, I'm with a roofing company and we're giving free estimates. Can I go up on your roof and take a look, see if you've had hail damage? And I said, well, yeah, do that. So he gets up there, half an hour later, he comes down and he goes, Mr. Sloan, you've got some hail damage. I've got pictures, got everything. I said, okay, what do I need to do? He said, put me in touch with, give me all your information for your insurance agent. So he contacted my insurance agent, and they sent the adjuster out. Same adjuster who did our floor 2 years earlier. He came out, and he walked around up there and took pictures and everything. He goes, absolutely, you got hail damage. And so my deductible was $7,500. And when they pulled the shingles off, they found a bunch of damage on the decking, and they covered that. It was a $30,000 job, and it cost me $7,500. But the point is, the agents and the adjusters, they're familiar with all the contractors. If it's body shop, mechanic, anything on your house, painters, whatever it is, sheetrock guys, they know them all. And sometimes they have contracts with some of the contractors. And the contractors know the agents because the agents refer people to them. Okay? I was talking to my agent, and he says, is there anything else that needs to be done for the roof? And I said, we were just going to have some gutter work done. He goes, oh, I got a great gutter guy. Okay, good. Okay. There are companies that just do adjusting. Okay? So that's what they do. They're independent. They don't work for the company. They just do adjustments. They just do claims adjusting. And typically these are people who have been in the business, the contracting business, and they want to do something different. Maybe they've gotten older, and they don't want to do the physical work anymore, and they don't want to hire people, they don't want the headache, but they have the knowledge, and so they'll take a look and they'll say this, they'll do the measurements and they'll price it out and say this is what it'll cost to fix it. Okay? But they're not involved with that, with the job. Okay. And then if you can't agree, you can get a public adjuster. Okay? As a client, if you can't agree on the extent of the damage and how much it'll cost to fix it right, then you can hire a third party. Okay? All right. So the claims process begins with notice of a loss. The client has to let the insurance agent know, which is why I did what I did. Immediately, first thing I did, call the agent. Second thing I did, call the police. Okay? The agent, and then I called the 800 number. They took down all the information, and they contacted a towing company that came out for me. Okay? Towing company that they had contracted with. Okay? Do not wait. Do not wait. If you ever have an accident, you must get the personal information, at least get the personal information. There have been so many times when people say, I'm just going to pay for mine, and you pay for yours, you know what, chances are they didn't have a driver's license with them, or they're driving and they're not supposed to be driving, or they don't have insurance. There is a reason why they don't want you to have their contact information. They're going to rip you off. That's why. And most of the time, 9 times out of 10, your insurance agent will tell you, you got to call the police. Not to get anybody into trouble, but you've got to document what happened. Okay? You've got to have a police report. Okay? It's not to get anybody in trouble. But sometimes you say, we're going to have to call the police. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. My rates will go sky. Oh, you got to do it. You got to do it. Otherwise, you're going to end up holding the bag. Do not let somebody talk you out of giving their personal information to you and out of calling the police. Okay? All right, so then they look into it. They investigate the claim. The adjuster confirms the covered loss and the amount of the loss. And one thing that the company needs to make sure is that the policy is in force. My mom had Alzheimer's. I was in college. My sister was called. I didn't know that we were called at the same time. My sister was overseas. She came home. And one of the things my sister did, God bless her, is she found out, and my sister's dead now, so I don't know how she found out, but she found out that the homeowner's policy had lapsed. She had it reinstated, and 3 months later, there was a terrible ice storm in Charleston, and it pulled the wires out of the roof, and it burned the freaking house down. Okay? If she hadn't reinstated that policy, it would have been in a world of hurt. My 2 brothers. Okay? So was the policy in force? Let me tell you, everybody's got stories. Okay? Did the policy cover the peril, or was the peril excluded? Okay? Was the property that was actually damaged? Because if we look at homeowners, some structures on property aren't covered. Okay? Is the claimant authorized to recover? I'll tell you a weird story, freaky story. We're on video, I shouldn't even tell this. I had a friend, we weren't too friendly, but we went to Pleasant Valley Church together. And I moved up here and I lost touch with him. You know, we weren't really good friends. I'm driving back from Little Rock one day and my phone rings and I look down and it's his name on it. It's like, man, I haven't talked to this guy in 15 years. So he told me that he had gotten hooked on meth. He said, I drank a little bit, smoked a little bit of you know what, but I never really did anything bad. And then one day, a friend of mine said, man, you got to try this. He said, I took one puff and it sucked me in like a vacuum cleaner. He said it sucked the soul right out of me. Just one hit on it. Just made me, I completely lost it. So he was down in Hot Springs, going to the races, having a crazy week. And he ran into a telephone pole. And so he totaled his car. And so he was in a hotel, and he called his insurance agent, and his agent said, we're going through the process, but the loss, I think we're going to have to total the car, and it's going to be about $10,000. So we'll know tomorrow, and then I'll get you a check. So a couple of days go by, he hadn't heard, and he called the insurance agent, and the insurance agent said, it's total loss, it's $10,000, but the car is in your mother's name. It is not in your name. The check will go to her. And the guy, he said, else I was totally messed up. He said, I threatened him on the phone. He said, I'm going to burn your house down. It was ugly. He said, 30 minutes later, knock on the door. He opened the door. There were 2 policemen. They asked, are you so-and-so? He goes, yeah. He said, they threw me on the ground. They cuffed me. And I spent 2 years in prison for terroristic threatening. So you got to be the authorized claimant. You got to be the guy who's on the policy to get the money. He wasn't on the policy. It was his mom's car. And this guy he was 45 years old when this happened. He wasn't a kid. Is the claimant authorized to recover? I mean, I was just listening to it going, the whole thing was like, first you're on meth, then you threaten somebody, then you spend 2 years in prison, not in county jail, he was in prison. And he went from, they had him in the state hospital for a while, and he said it was crazy. He was crazy. All right. Okay. Were you somewhere you weren't supposed to be? Okay. Did you get a little loopy and drive your car out on the lake in Wisconsin, and it was spring, and boom, through the ice you went, you know? All right. Is the claim real? You know, is everything claimed to be a loss actually a loss? All right? Okay, so that's an affidavit, a sworn statement. People who are going to lie, they're going to lie. Sworn statement doesn't really mean anything, but it does prove, if they can prove that the loss didn't happen, they can prove that it was perjury, it was fraud. Okay? Something else, other things they need to know, and insurance companies always want to know, do you have any other insurance or insurers involved? Because you can have more than one insurance company cover property, and that's not illegal, but they need to know it. Okay? Because they work together to determine who owes what, and we'll talk about that. Okay? Make sure that the title of the property is still in your name, or that you still occupy the property. If you sell property and something happens to the property, you're no longer responsible for that property, and your insurance company is no longer responsible for the property. The moment you sell the property, your insurance becomes invalid. The new owner has to have insurance. Okay? I'm telling you, people don't know these things. And then things happen, and they call their insurance, they call the insurance company, says, no, you're not covered. All right. So the adjuster can either pay or deny. And in your policy, there are provisions that cover how disputes will be handled. Okay? Same thing in my business, in my contract, the client agrees to go through arbitration. If there's a dispute, I've never had a dispute, but if a client wanted to dispute with me, they signed a contract that said, I will agree to arbitration as opposed to a lawsuit. Okay? One of the main functions, and we're going to talk about regulations of the state insurance department, and again, I've said this before, but I want you to remember this, that insurance laws are primarily state laws, not federal laws. Okay, so there's an insurance department, and you can file a claim with the state insurance department. Oops. All right, that's a good place to stop. What is that, 18? Yeah. We'll pick up, because reinsurance is a totally separate topic, and we'll pick that up on Tuesday. Really interesting stuff. Reinsurance is cool. I want to be a reinsurer. Shalom. Peace out.